Okay, I don't know if anyone can hear me, but this is kind of an experiment to see how to do this. I'll type this in here. Okay, that was a guest appearance from Chloe the cat. Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me? If you can, let me know. I don't know what that little symbol means. What I've done is I've put my phone on a stand and I'm going to try to film over on the counter. Hopefully without the animals getting in a fight. And I'm going to show some patches, then I'm probably going to start cooking supper, but I want to sort of see how this works. I think I'm getting some feedback through the phone, and I haven't quite figured that out yet. Oh, rock. Okay, cool. All right, so we can try this. Can you hear me over here? Hopefully you can hear me over here. If you can't, let me know. Because the microphone is on the other side of the kitchen. So I'm going to start with this, and these are patches that I received in the mail. And a big thank you to Clover Cat for sending them. Of course, there's his card. And he always sends these cool little targets to go with it. And here is a sticker. And a card. Let's see if I can get these out of here. Show you how you set them. Like that. So I've got to take the tape off of it. Trying to figure out how to set things up to where I can do things over here on the counter and then go back to the stove. I've got to figure out how to get a little bit further away image as well. So here's one patch, and it's Velcro. It is awesome. That is a hollow sun. And this one's gun nuts. It's also Velcro. It's got an AR on it. This one looks like We Won Tactical, and this is just a really cool patch. If you can see that, it's probably upside or sideways. That probably helps. It'll work with camera angles. So that works pretty good. It's showing I have one guest in there, and I think that's actually me because I'm logged in the StreamYard twice. And I just wanted to show those patches there that Clover sent to kind of test this 2-camera thing out. And of course, I have one of my carries sitting here, MK25, and I got some food over here that I'm fixing to start with. But I'm going to go ahead and turn this camera off, and hopefully it doesn't end the whole stream. I want to see if it does that because I'm kind of testing all of this out. But here are the patches, clover scent, and they are awesome. And let me turn this off. I don't have a lot of room here. Okay, I think I accidentally figured out how to do that. I just click backspace and it kicks that one out of the chat, and I'd have to log back in or walk back in, whatever. I don't know what the terminology is. It just kind of worked. So I figured, let me see if I can adjust this camera a little bit. Kind of straighten it out there. I was going to do some garlic soup, and here's a spatula, and go ahead and start heating this up. You don't want it too hot. I'm going to saute some garlic basically, and you can burn garlic really quick. And that's what I'm fixing to do. I would have went live like an hour ago, but Amy came home with a carload of groceries after I just set everything up, and that is what it is. So I'm going to kind of cut this up a little bit just to melt it quicker. That's a little more than a tablespoon. All you really need is a tablespoon. I'm going to have to listen to this later. I was getting a serious echo through my phone because the computer and the phone are kind of too close. And I was trying to turn the phone down. To get the echo out of it. It was sounding like I had talkback on a CB. Okay, now I don't have one of those garlic crusher things or anything fancy, so I take a knife, literally this one, I place it flat on the cutting board, and I just smash the garlic. I mean, you do that to peel it anyways. Tap it, it'll crack it open, and then smash it. I've got about 7 cloves of garlic smashed up here. I actually tried to do some prep work. I got interrupted. And I don't think she cares. But she's cute, so she gets away with it. Turn my heat up just a little bit. And I'm going to let that get warmed up, and I'm going to get some chicken stock or chicken broth. You can use either one. Stock works really good, and I'm probably fixing to make some stock. Save my chicken bones. But either one will work. And I just use about 1.5 quarts, maybe 2 quarts. So I will get those ready. And I have broth, not stock. The difference being the broth is kind of made from the meat and the stock is made from boiling the bones. Save your bones, boil them down with celery, garlic. That's kind of the main two. And then you strain it a few times, get it as clear as you can, and then you make your soup with it. Little onion. Pretty much anything you would put in soup, you would put in there. And I'm probably corking Yankee right now, but I got delayed and I wasn't expecting to be home. My truck broke down again. It's still having DEF problems. So I had to limp it back from Lafayette, Louisiana to Houston. And they put it at the shop, and I'm taking a different load tomorrow. And I have to leave the house probably, I don't know, about 4 a.m. So it's one of them things. That clock just keeps rolling. Let me get these windows to clear. I don't know why, but the computer decides to put all the little pop-up messages from Gmail and all my other apps right there over the chat. And DJ Play Nice has been in there for a while, and Barnaby Sanchez, Bernie, says what's cooking, and hangover soup is what's cooking, or garlic soup. So doesn't take too long. I just got to roast this a little bit, bring the flavor out of it. I'll start adding a few things. I was hoping to be done by now. But I don't know if, well, probably all of you have had your spouse come home with a carload of groceries and you stop everything and you deal with that. But this is mainly just a test. I was testing out the other camera and figuring out how to go back and forth, and I figured that out. And as long as the echo is not picking up on camera, we should be good. Because really what I'm wanting to do is be able to go back and forth from the counter to the stove, and I can show like working with the dough, and I might make pierogi this weekend, or pierogi. But that involves a lot of rolling dough and cutting it out in the little circles and folding it in half, and filling them and then folding it in half, and quite a few different ways of cooking it. I think every culture has a form of filled dumpling that they use. So I might cook those this weekend, and it'd be kind of cool to be able to go back and forth from one to the other. So cutting them out and filling them and going back to the stove and cooking them. I'm getting there slowly. Okay, no wonder why my stove went off. Hopefully this isn't going to explode. I was wondering why it was cooling down. The flame went out for some reason. That's not good. I'm like, this is supposed to be getting hotter. Yes, dumplings are awesome. I might do chicken and dumplings sometime too, but I think I'm going to do pierogi this weekend. One of my aunts finally gave me her chicken soup recipe. I'll make that at some point. But that involves making your own stock and then basically cooking your chicken and putting all the same ingredients that you use to make your stock back into the stock with the chicken. She uses some weird ingredients so that I don't know if I'd use, because she'll put pig's feet and chicken feet and stuff like that in there. I don't know if I would put those in there. Maybe pig's feet. I don't know about chicken feet. Now see, that's what my garlic was supposed to be doing. Start to sizzle. That's called, it is a live broadcast, so things happen. And I gotta turn this down before I burn it. But garlic, you can burn it really, really easy. So keep your heat down low and stir it. You just want to kind of brown it a little bit. And it's going to get boiled in. I've got some potatoes over there already cut up. You can use red potatoes or golden potatoes. Russets don't really work well in a soup. They fall apart. They work better for like making dumplings or mashed potatoes, that sort of thing. If you're making a soup and you want little pieces of potato in it, red potatoes and golden potatoes. I kind of prefer red, especially because sometimes I don't want to peel them. You can just kind of leave the peel on there. But those work better for soups. And I've got about 5 red potatoes that are cut up and ready to go. This won't take much longer. You can see it already kind of changing color. And they'll pretty much dissolve into the soup. And like I said earlier, I don't have fancy equipment, so I don't have one of the fancy garlic smasher things. And I just smash them on the counter. And that works. So probably about another minute here. That's all these will need. Maybe less. Go ahead and get some broth ready. I don't know if I'm going to buy farmer's cheese for the pierogi or make it. Takes longer to make it. I've got a recipe for farmer's cheese on there, and it's kind of similar, except I wouldn't be adding the sugar, because for the kolaches, you're putting sugar in with the farmer's cheese. For this, you wouldn't. Okay, that's about where I want it. I was surprised I got my hands clean today. I was covered in grease and hydraulic oil, and it's one of those days when it's like you start looking for gasoline to clean your hands because soap just isn't going to do it. So you wash your hands with like solvent or gasoline, and then you wash them with soap and water. That's called working for a living. I get dirty. And that's another problem my truck had. was one of my hydraulic lines. The two that aren't hooked up to anything unless I'm running a pump or something on a trailer. They stay kind of coiled up on the catwalk. The one with the female end, it's got something stuck in there, so it was wanting to leak. And I had to hook those up together, which is a pain in the ass, and coil it back up on the catwalk. And, oh, it was a lovely day. Uh, Bisquick dumplings are something totally different than what I'm talking about, except for like, chicken noodle soup or something. I've done those too. I've used tortillas to make dumplings. There's all kinds of things you can make them out of. But this is a different kind of dumpling. This is folded, filled. If I make the pierogi, similar to like an empanada or a wonton or what do the Italians call theirs? They got a name for them too. I think every culture has something like that. You see. Yeah, Czech dumplings are something completely different too. It's basically a loaf of boiled bread that you slice up. Um, so it's like you're making goulash and dumplings, and people are like, they're thinking chicken and dumplings. They're trying to picture that in their head, and that's not quite what you're doing. If you look at my goulash recipes, you can see those slices of bread that are on the bowls should be on the thumbnail. Those are Czech dumplings. And I am going to bring this to a boil. One second. My potatoes sat up out there for just a little bit longer than I wanted them to. Thing all prepped and ready, and then got interrupted. So I'm going to be putting marjoram, parsley, and a little bouillon into here as well. And I'm also going to beat one egg, and it's going to be in here as well. But I need to boil this first. Like I said, I am testing things out. Still kind of figuring out what I need prepped, in what order. And some of these things I might have to do like the cook shows and just like reduce the quantity that I'm making at a time and do like 2 dishes to where I get it to a certain point and then I can move the one off the burner, put it on the other, and bring out the one where, okay, this is where it's done. I grew up watching Justin Wilson and Frugal Gourmet and Julia Child, and I believe all of them did that for the necessity of time. They would always have a dish somewhere already made or in the other oven that they would have like on the wall or somewhere, and they would pull it out and they put the ones they were doing aside and bring them out, and this is what they look like when they're done. So stuff in dough about every damn culture on earth. Yeah, I think every culture has some form of like basically stuffed little dumplings. That's not what I'm making now. I'm making garlic soup. I need to bring this to a boil. So, find my spoons. Probably would have helped to have that out and ready. That one's too big, but I do like these. They slide. Different measurements. See if you can see that. Actually, that goes down to a teaspoon, so I can use that. So you have all the different measurements there. Because I'm going to put a teaspoon of marjoram, probably about a teaspoon of parsley, and a teaspoon of bouillon. And what I'm going to use is this stuff. Don't have any bouillon cubes at the moment, but I do need another teaspoon for that one. Or I can just kind of guess. Yeah, I can kind of guess. It's not that exact. Oh, I used to love Julia Child, especially when she'd be joking and kidding around. I think she didn't start cooking until she was, I want to say, 46. She was in her 40s, which is just awesome. Yes, Czech dumplings are awesome with anything that has a sauce. Paprikash, goulash, any of that. But don't eat them with your hands. It's, well, no one's going to say anything over here unless, like, a relative from the Czech Republic comes over or something. But you're supposed to eat them with your fork or your spoon and sop up all the gravy with them. And in the South, we're really good at sopping up gravy with any form of bread that we get. I was going to say, don't tell me that thing went out again. And those little pieces of garlic are just going to kind of work themselves into the soup. Not quite time for the spices yet. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in. My burner went out, so I should already have the potatoes in here. This might help. Probably would. Bring it to a boil quicker. Hold the heat in. Gun Library Garrett. Hello. Still getting used to looking at the chat. I think I need to figure out a way to get my computer up higher where it's easier to read. And those are potatoes. This little coffee cup ready. Probably put an egg in that one. I just need one. One large egg. Just beat it up. It's going to be about 15 minutes till I need it. Okay, it's starting to boil. I will move this over here. I'll start putting potatoes in. If I can open the jar. Don't really need a whole lot of this. If you've never tried it, it's kind of strong. Works good. And yes, my stove is clean. Just mixing it in pretty good. I'm probably gonna let this boil for about 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna add my other 2 spices to it. I'm just making this because I wanted to take it on the road with me. I've got one more thing of the biscuits and sausage gravy. I made little containers of it left, and I'll leave out in the morning, so I'm going to fill some containers with the garlic soup and take that with me. Hold on. Okay. Had to go get the dog. She has food and he wanted to hop up in bed. He's a dog. They do that. And this is the part where I need another pot. It's already kind of done. So you all still out there. The last comment that I see is from Gun Library Garrett. And there's DJ Play Nice. And Bernie about 15 minutes ago. We got 2 or 3 more minutes. This one. Clean spoons in the drawer. It is mine. Okay, so now we're literally waiting for water to boil. Or in this case, broth. Stock does work a little better for this. But broth works as well. And I didn't have any stock, so we're using broth. Should be boiling more. So did anyone else break down today, or was it just me? The DEF system on the truck, and we just got it out of the shop for the same problem. It would want to regen about every 50 miles. It regen, and then it won't regen when it's driving down the road. And I'd have to park, and it would take like 45 minutes. And then the last time, the D-rate code just wouldn't go off of it. So I limped it to the shop, and it's been in there for a few weeks. And I get it out, and I was heading over to Plaquemine, Louisiana to load. And I get over by Orange, Texas, and it wants to regen. It tells me I have to pull over and park. And I'm like, I don't have time for this. But I pulled over, regen, took about 45 minutes. Then I took off again. I let my boss know, and he was rescheduling the pickup. And I got over by Lafayette, and it wanted to regen again. So I pulled over, and it just kept regenning. And I'm like, I can't let it go anymore. It's getting too hot, because it was well over an hour. But it did clear the soot code. So I was able to make it back to Beaumont. I stopped at the Petro in Beaumont and had to regen again. And that one took about 45 minutes. And then I took it to the yard and dropped the trailer, took my stuff out of the truck, and took it over to Kenworth. So today kind of sucked because that load paid really good and I need the money. And since I didn't pick it up, I'll be getting paid hourly for today and not percentage. And percentage pays quite a bit more than hourly. I guess those are the breaks, so that's what happened. Okay, now it's starting to boil. Hold on. Sorry about that. She keeps wanting to sit in the bed with food, and he's a dog. So if you have food and a dog, you're not going to be sitting in bed alone. Really kind of need the smaller one. That is a teaspoon of marjoram. It's related to oregano. Some places they call it sweet oregano. It looks like the same plant. Probably kind of is. Okay. It's parsley. Now, when using this for like an actual cold remedy, some people will put ginger in there, which is for your stomach. It's basically like over here we have chicken noodle soup, and they have hangover soup or garlic soup, which is what I'm making. Gizzard Gary, hello. Thank you for joining the chat. This was a kind of a test chat sort of thing because I hooked my phone up as another camera over on the counter, and I was trying to do from the counter to the stove, and it did work out pretty good. I'm going to have to listen to the chat later for echo and see how that sounded, because the phone's wanting to pick up the echo. The computer's too close to it. Or figure out a way to move the computer well, I don't think it'd be the computer as much as the camera, and I don't know if I can move that further away. But I want to be able to go from like the counter to the stove and have a camera in both places. Because like I was saying earlier, I would like to be able to do something like, I'm thinking I'm going to make pierogi. I think everyone here calls it pierogi. And I'm thinking I'm going to make that this weekend, which is going to involve rolling out dough and cutting little circles and filling them which I'm probably going to do like cheese and potato, like farmer's cheese and potato, maybe cabbage, and then folding them in half and kind of crimping the ends. And you can boil them, you can fry them. There's a million different ways to do it. Then serve them with a little cream cheese. I'm probably going to make croutons to go with this too. The garlic soup, I have an actual garlic soup recipe posted, and it does really good served over like slices of Swiss cheese, and make some rye bread croutons, which is just take a couple of slices of dark rye bread. You can use any dark bread, but rye bread works really good. And I don't know, about a teaspoon or so of olive oil in a pan, and you just make croutons out of them. Little tiny pieces of toast, and sprinkle them over it, and it's pretty awesome. Oh, well, if you have a cold, I would suggest making this. That's hangover soup, soup remedy. That's kind of what it's for. And I literally do have another video going through how to make it, but it's basically you saute about 7 cloves of garlic and about a tablespoon of butter. Garlic will burn real easy, so keep your heat low. And when it starts changing color, you add about 2 quarts of preferably stock if you have it. Chicken stock, but chicken broth works as well. That's what I'm using right now. And you put in there, you want to use red or golden potatoes because russets will fall apart on you. And probably 5 or 6 red potatoes or golden potatoes, kind of dice them up. Small so they'll cook faster. And of course, this is going to be in a soup, so you're picking it up with a spoon. And you start, you bring the water to a boil, and then you put the potatoes in there, and you kind of bring it to a boil again. Add a teaspoon of marjoram, and I also put a teaspoon of parsley in there. And forgot right before you add the potatoes to it, put like a bouillon cube in there, or what I used was better than bouillon. I probably put about a half a teaspoon of that in it. Bring it to a boil, and then you have 1 egg beaten, sitting in a cup ready to go, because once the potatoes are actually done, I'm going to pour that a little bit at a time while stirring into the soup. And it's going to make little tiny pieces of egg all throughout the soup. I do that in several different soups. A lot of this food was basically what poor people in Eastern Europe ate before refrigeration. And it's amazingly good. I'm going to crack that there so that it doesn't boil over. Just had the lid on it to keep the heat in so it would boil faster. Shouldn't be too much longer. Hangover soup is kimchi ramen soup. Well, I guess if you're from that part of the world, and that would probably work too. That's another thing, like most cultures have some, especially like Europe and Asia, have some form of cabbage. Like fermented cabbage dish, whether it's sauerkraut or whether it's kimchi, it's their own little version. I just actually like the soup, especially over Swiss cheese and with some rye bread croutons. I'll try a little. See how close it's getting? And that is nearly there. The other thing is you can add salt to it, and I'm always kind of careful not to over salt things. And if you're using salted butter, which I did for roasting the garlic, and then you're using salted chicken stock or chicken broth, or not unsalted, should I say, you're going to have a lot of salt already in there. Yes, that will prevent boil over. And I usually, if I'm cooking noodles, I've got olive oil in there. Also helps keep things from sticking. But cracking the lid like that also works. Probably 2 or 3 more minutes and these will be done, and I'll add the egg. I may also do the croutons, just because I want some. There's some people in the chat, so. But I'm literally taking this on the road with me. I've got, hold on. Where are they at? These things here are from HEB. Fill these up and take them inside of the truck stop and stick them in the microwave and heat them up. I would put a microwave in the truck, but it would be broken very quick. I tend to go off-road a lot. There was one time I literally loaded in the Mississippi River because it was overflowed. That was pretty cool. I got pictures of that. I got all kinds of cool pictures. I've been driving a truck for 24 years, and some of the things in my early driving career, it's too bad they didn't have, camera phones and stuff like that. All we had was a pager and a payphone and a calling card. You could take pictures with an actual camera and develop the film. Sometimes I miss those days, though, when nobody could reach you. You go home, leave a message on the answering machine, and I'm fishing. I'll check the machine when I come back Monday. My wife is pacing. I swear she was a cat in a previous life. She's going to be twitching her tail in a minute. Oh, I'm dating myself. Yeah. Definitely. Okay, I'll turn this down a little bit. If you have one of those little garlic press things, that works really, really good for the garlic. Most of it kind of works in the soup. If you smash them like I did, you'll have a couple little pieces, but that doesn't really bother me, and this is only for me to eat. And I will show you how to do this. We have this pretty little thing to sit on the stove to put your spatula and stuff like that on. And I believe one of the cats knocked it off. So we no longer have that. Okay. Now put just a little bit in and stir it. Try not to get in a hurry. Just want a little bit. You stir it. And this is going to leave you with little tiny pieces of egg. You want like one good large egg. And see, it's real easy to put a little bit too much in there. Stir it up real quick. You don't want much more than what I just put in there at a time. Takes a little practice. If you accidentally do put a little too much in it, it's not the end of the world. It's not a competition. It's just food. I think some of y'all do actually go to competitions. Oh, you're the soup Nazi. Oh, wait. The good thing about my load canceling is that I can take my dog with me, because I was going to load at Dow over in Clackamane, and that Dow facility does not allow animals. But where I'm loading tomorrow does, so I can take my dog with me. And he is a handful for her alone. I mean, she would be fine with him as long as he didn't see a cat or a squirrel or, that's a little too much there, anything like that. But he can take her off her feet and Marmaduke her pretty easily. If you've ever seen that cartoon, there's a reason for the cartoon. He's took me off my feet before. He's a Mastiff mix. He's Great Dane and Boxer. So we've got the craziness of the Boxer with the goofiness of the Great Dane, all in one dog. He's not exactly pet friendly either. He got into a fight with two pit bulls, and it wasn't the dog's fault, it was the owner's. As most cases, it usually is. And I was walking him. I had him on a leash, like I always do, because I'm not stupid. You know, it's one thing to let him out in the yard without a leash. It's another thing to walk around a truck stop without a leash. And, you know, these two drivers, husband and wife, get out of their truck, and they both had, I guess, a pit bull apiece, because two of them come out. And dogs are like children. They'll go run up to each other, and my dog's doing his thing. And all of a sudden, he's in a fight with two pit bulls. I'm trying to drag him backwards. He's got one by, it was mostly neck and part of his head. And I'm screaming at them to grab their dogs. And about that time, he threw the first pit bull over my head. And that was messy. Because the other pit bull grabbed a hold of his rump, so he turned around to grab that one. And it's like the guy didn't take me seriously until I told him, you know, I'm going to shoot your dog. You need to grab a hold of your dog. I didn't say it that nicely, but I don't think he realized that he had pit bulls until he had to pull them apart from another dog without a leash. If you have a leash, I have a leash. It makes things really easy because the dogs aren't in a fight in the first place, and if they got in a fight, it's a lot easier to pull them apart. if you're trying to grab a hold of their collar, that's a very dangerous situation. But we got the dogs separated. Like I said, that wasn't the fault of the dogs. That was the fault of the owners, as it usually is. I'm up to 2 people again now. Running my mouth when I should be stirring eggs. But anyways, the point to that was that he's not particularly pet friendly. That's one of the reasons I have him. He's hard to control, and nobody would take him. I generally take animals like that it seems like nobody else wants, and give them a home. But he is very hard to control. So the only 2 people that are good at it are me and my son. So if I'm gone, he has to come over here to walk him, or she'll get taken off her feet. G23. Oh, this is garlic soup. I'll repeat myself from earlier. I was doing a test using my phone for one camera over by the counter and the computer with this for the other camera. And I'm cooking this anyways to take with me on the road. And I used my phone to do a quick show and tell of the patches that Clover Tech sent me, which are some pretty awesome patches. I had to go pick them up here in a minute. They're still laying on the counter. And then I was hoping I could turn that one off and go to this one. So I kind of figured out how to do that. I've got to accidentally kick myself out of the studio on that camera and I guess re-enter the studio on that camera if I want to show the counter again. But it'll give me 2 cameras. That way I can work on the counter and at the stove at the same time. Do I temper the egg for this? Don't know what you mean about tempering the egg. I just beat it up with a fork or a whisk, usually a fork and a coffee cup, and pour just a little bit at a time, followed by a little bit at a time, and keep stirring it. And this is done, so let me get another pan out. I'll use this one so I don't make her mad. Olive oil. Cool. This pan's kind of old and scratched up. That way I'm not dirtying up anything good. Since I'm going to be gone for a little while. I'm not angering her. Rye bread, and I'm going to cut it up. Let's see what I'm using. Dark rye. How long am I going to be on the road? 2 or 3 days. I don't stay out for weeks at a time anymore. I'm burnt out on that. I've already been there, done that. I've got my stripes. Let somebody else get them. I've had enough nightmares and I've been gone for long enough periods of time. I'm just burnt. Okay, I'm gonna cut this up over here. And I'm not being fancy about it either. I just sliced it up, make some croutons out of it. Turn this back on. Getting warm. A little test piece. And we will make croutons out of the rye bread. You have driven a semi without a CDL. Yeah, I kind of did that too on the farm. I've had a CDL for 24 years though. I used to go from the field to the house. I couldn't go very far, but that's how I learned how to drive. A lot of wheat, a lot of Milo, a lot of beans. Then we have the smaller trucks. What do they call them? They're basically like 2.5 ton trucks. Every farmer has them. Have like a 4-speed or a 5-speed at it. There we go. Usually like a split axle or something. And you take the sides off, haul hay, and you put the sides back on. They had dump beds on them. And you'd haul grain. Like a 60s model Chevy or International bench seat. Everybody should learn how to drive like that. Leave that alone for a second. I'm talking. I want to keep doing it. South Carolina to Atlanta and back. Cool. If you don't get caught. If you want to get a CDL and you get caught, that can cause some serious hitches in that plan. I know a few people that got in trouble that way. They got pulled over before they got their CDL, and then they couldn't get their CDL. Now, my older brother is my stepbrother, and then there's my stepfather. They look close enough. I mean, they look identical. And when he was a teenager and my stepfather was in his 30s, they look close enough to pass on a driver's license. Oh, cool. Thank you, Guns and Whiskey. I wasn't even planning on doing this. It was literally testing cameras. But anyways, how my brother learned to drive was my stepfather would go to sleep and let him take over and drive the truck because they could pass for each other on a driver's license. I don't know how far they would put you under the jail nowadays if you tried to do that. But I mean, we're still talking about a time when everybody had water dripping out of their side box. I was going to flip these. I'm going to burn them. But everybody would have water dripping out of their side box. Everyone knew exactly what was in there and nobody said shit. Nowadays, there's too many snitches. Like I said, I'm just making croutons. I'm going to be a little too dark, but it's not really going to matter. It's toast. So if you burn these just a little bit, don't freak out because it's really not a problem. Yes. Okay, these are about done. So actually, they're a little more than done. I'm sitting here running my mouth. It happens. Still good though. I need to switch these and get those away from here, or they'll be. And on a list of things I probably should have done before I started cooking is getting a bowl ready. I do not like how this one looks. So I need another bowl. That one looks better. Alright, I gotta get Swiss cheese out. Show you what I'm doing here in a second, because I already shut this camera down. But I need some Swiss cheese. And I'm going to slice it. Which is what I'm currently doing. So hold on 1 second, I'll be back over there. I just sort of put it in there like that. You can see it. Little strips of Swiss cheese. then take your soup. You can see those little pieces of egg in there. This was poor people food. This is what I've been most of my life. Apparently my ancestors were too. And then put some croutons over it. And that is garlic soup with rye bread croutons. And croutons are a little bit overdone, but it doesn't really matter. It's more of a looks thing. And that is garlic soup. Oh, you learn on tractors and other farm equipment too, yes. I had to go behind my brother on a Minneapolis Moline U and with a hand clutch and standing on the turning brakes while he was in a nice new white tractor with air conditioning because everybody had to start off on the old equipment. And I mean, this is like a 1938 model tractor, which I think all the farmers have something like that around, like an old farm all or something like that. And, well, you learn how to drive, especially if that worm gears wore out. Start to going a little bit too fast, and well, can't do that. And old tricycle, hit a rock in the road, bounces up in the air, scares the hell out of you. And I need a stick. Oh, we had a guest appearance from Chloe the cat earlier. But see how the cheese kind of melts there? Hold on. I'm going to end up making a mess. That's all it is. The Swiss cheese is a great combination for it. I saw someone else do that, and I'm like, okay, I've got to try that. That sounds good. So I tried it, and now I do it every time. I don't think I was 7. I was on a lawn tractor when I was 7. Actually, I was on a lawn tractor when I was 5. I'm not talking about the lawnmowers they have nowadays. I'm talking like the old Montgomery Ward had like a cast iron deck sort of thing. I think it was cast iron. It was definitely solid steel, and they were heavy. If you could mow it over, you could mow it. You know, if you could lay it over, you could mow it. And they looked more like little miniature tractors. I had a picture of me somewhere when I was 5 mowing the lawn with one of them. I think I was probably closer to 10 or 11 before I was actually on a farm tractor. Yeah, about the size where I was starting to help with the hauling hay and that sort of thing. Dragging bales back in the hayloft. Couldn't quite buck them up yet. That come a few years later. Old and tired. I think I feel the same way. Anyway, I'll put this up here. No, it's not going to melt that. Move this over. use the other bowl to put these croutons in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put these croutons in a plastic bag. Okay, don't have a lot of room. But now I'm going to put them in a plastic bag and put them in the fridge in the truck to take with me. Let's see if I can do the rest of these. So that's kind of what makes it complicated too, as you get to talking, to reading the chat, and you need to be watching the pan. I'm getting used to it though. My little test piece. Your driving equipment from the age of 5 with help. Things were different. I mean, there was a time if you got pulled over with your grandfather, the cop would be like, you're just drunk, go home. I think they stopped doing that in the 80s. Just times were different. There we go. I'm having to work around this boom in my face. I got one of those camera stands that's all flexible. And it works pretty good, but it's right in front of my face. And it's not long enough to really put back a ways, because it kind of needs to be like 2 foot higher and a few feet over, or well, maybe a foot over to the left, something like that. But it works for now. It's not like I'm some rich YouTuber that can afford a studio. Turn that down. Yeah, my graduating class had 23 people in it. I grew up in the 80s and came of age in the early 90s. I caught the end of hair metal and the beginning of grunge. And I still like most of those bands from both. Doesn't matter. Warrant, Winger, Motley Crue. Everyone loved Nirvana, Metallica, Pantera. Rat. Amy was more into the hair bands. And I think I was more into like thrash. I still listen to the hair bands, but I was more into thrash. There's where you're supposed to stop doing these. See them done right? That works out much better. called Pay Attention to What You're Doing. I need this to dish that out. And if y'all want, you can watch me fix my lunch for the road. Like I said, I do not have a lot of room. I need to rinse these out. All right, for on the road, it's not as, how should I put it, pretty. I just put a slice of Swiss cheese in the bottom. And I start filling it up. And that is one. Sounds like a John Mellencamp song. He was pretty cool too. He saw Nirvana before they were known. The bad thing about grunge is when grunge got popular, the scene was already over. Everybody was heading to Seattle. And it was basically all kind of over. Well, not over, but, you know, the bands that they were wanting to see. I've always thought Chris Cornell was, you know, I like Kurt Cobain, but I thought Chris Cornell was more talented in many ways. And even, what's his name from Smashing Pumpkins? I think the difference was Nirvana just kind of dropped first, you know, because there were a couple of like really, really good bands and they were all at the same time. And Nirvana just happened to be that first one to really hit. A lot of those guys were friends too. Like, and I think Hole was actually a band before Nirvana, but that one Hole song is about what's his name from Smashing Pumpkins? His name's slipping my mind. Having a brain fart, so the name's slipping my mind. Yeah, growing up, people would think we moved away in the summertime because we only went to town like once a month for supplies. One of the houses we lived in, my mom had like a 7-acre garden, and we did a lot of canning and raised most of our own food. These things hold more than they look like. That's definitely a meal. I hope to someday be pushing 70. I know when I was younger, I didn't understand what my grandmother was talking about having blood pressure headaches, and now I think I'm starting to get the point. Now, my great great grandmother, I was privileged enough to know. Um, she outlived 7 husbands. Of course, she was born in 1880. Um, she was like 40 before penicillin was a thing, went through a lot of wars, that sort of thing. And she worked until she was 106, and she hurt her arm at work, so they forced her into a nursing home, and she barely made 107 and she died. I don't want to work until I'm 106. And where's that baggie? Oh, where should I put it? I need one. This one's kind of too big. But I'll show you what I'm doing with the croutons. I need a smaller bag, but I put them in there. And then I have the croutons on the road with me. So, anyways, see. I need more room. Animals are so much better. Yes, they are. My dog is the only member of my family that earned his spot. He took on 2 armed intruders. Everyone else is probationary. Cool. Okay, well, I'm going to have to eat my supper, and I've got to be up early because I've got another load that's going to be preloaded. That I've got to deliver the next day at like 6 a.m. Yeah, you can't work like that your whole life and then be put into a nursing home. At that point, the nursing home, I think, kills you. But anyways, thank y'all so much for helping me test this out, and I figured out how to do 2 cameras. And I got some food fixed for the road, and that is awesome. So I think I know how I'm going to do my video this weekend. But I am going to have to go because I am going to have to go ahead and eat this before it gets cold, and I'm going to need to go to bed. So thank you so much for joining my chat and watch me learn how to work these cameras. And I will catch you all later. I'll be be on suction. I'm usually driving. I don't know what happened to my thing there. But anyways, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much. I'm going to push the end broadcast thing right about now. So thank you.